Alright, there, you cover me. I'll pick up those keys.
No, you need like 3 more.
I'm nice.
Yeah, I'm picking them up.
There you go.
You need some more, I'm not gonna lie.
Putting in
No,
3.
Oh, I need so many more.
Putting in 3. Get ready for DPS.
So many reapers. There's so many reapers. Nobody can help me. I'm chugging these niggas.
I'm coming. Oh my
Go.
god!
Shoot it. Shoot it.
Alright, just kill it. Post, I'm coming. Alright, Jay, I got you.
I'm just running away to protect my rhino.
What's up, guys? It's the video game Prodigy here. We did it. We finally beat the Alpha Genesis boss. It was not too bad, you know, considering we had main lines on some of the dinos that you're about to see in the video. But to tell you the truth, not really too much has changed from our Gamma boss attempt. I'll leave a link up on the top right. You'll see it right now if you want to see what we did for Gamma. But I mean, more likely probably not. This is where the beefy stuff is. If you can do it this way, you should be able to do it for Gamma and Beta and Alpha. So as far as what we did, we had main lines on rhinos. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, my rhino had about 20k HP, all melee after that, which got it to around, I think, 2500. And from there, you're about to see it was pretty much one-shotting everything, pretty much up to the gigas that spawned, so it's pretty dope. We used shotguns for DPS on boss at the very last stage, which, if I would change something, it would be that. I would use tech rifles. They're not too hard to get. You can do the hunting by moonlight mission on the lunar to get some pretty easy rifles. Not too bad. And on top of that, element is really easy on the map. I'll go ahead and throw it on the top right as well. How to clear out the entire volcano of all of the element. You pretty much lock Happenanki on just element alone. So we did it. We had mainline rhinos, we had, I believe, some mainline theries. Other than that, we had some filler rexes and someone on a UD. The rexes were, I mean, pretty garbage. I mean, not garbage, they got the job done and they didn't all die at the end, so they weren't bad. But I think we have rexes that can get up to 30,000 HP and about 1,000 melee, and I think the ones we had 30,000 and maybe anywhere between 400 and 600 melee. So that's what we use as far as rexes goes. We had someone on a UD giving us that UD buff. Fun fact, lesser antidotes actually work against the Giga debuff that takes away the percentage of your health. So if you have, I think I maybe used like 3 or 4 for last stage, but I mean, if you take, each of you takes maybe 6, just to be safe, to give you that buffer time, just in case you miss a phase like we did. Like we took 5 damage phases for us for the boss, and that was just because we all weren't shooting on the 4th phase. So it gives you a little bit of room for error, and it's great to, you know, get bit by a Giga and not have all of your health go away. I think I took maybe 20 veggie cakes, maybe 30, and I didn't even use 10, I don't think. So yeah, there's that. We're gonna be going into the video right now. I'll basically explain everything we did. Yeah, let's get on into it. Alright, so first things first, you're gonna need someone who knows how to whistle dinos, basically. Preferably what we did is we had our UD driver basically J whistle all the rexes, have them on neutral, or basically just keep everything by the terminal. And if that UD keeps everything there, that's basically one way of herding all of the keys over to that one spot. So from there, I mean, as you can see, the rhino that I'm using, that we're all using, is just tearing through all of these ads like nothing. And of course, if you start to get overwhelmed by the attack drones, which some of us kind of did towards the very last stage with boss DPS, if you have a shotgun, if you have a tech rifle, that'll be quick work of them. And with rhinos, you can shoot while you're riding them, so it's pretty convenient that we don't have to worry about dismounting in order to start shooting things up in the air. Fun fact, the corrupted avatars, I think is what they're called, the alpha ones will carry comp bows, and if they hit you, they will one-shot you. None of us were hit by the arrows, but if they do, you will just instantly die. So it's rare, but it can happen. So just make sure you're very aware of that. If there's a couple of them on the ground and that you see them with the combos, I would maybe kill them first before you go pick up keys, just to be safe. But that's it. Stages 1 through 3 are cakewalk. It's once you get to the very end that things of course start to get very intense. As we were doing the boss fight, we were under the assumption that after every damage phase on the boss, the timer would reset, but it did not. So keep that in mind. You don't have all the time in the world. You have some time for some room for error for maybe 5 damage phases, 6 damage phases if you guys are fast. But as long as you have a coordinated team, time isn't really that big of a deal. But yeah, that's what we did for stage 1. Alrighty, stage 2, same deal. UDI, J-whistle all the Rexes, bring them to the terminal. One thing that I definitely recommend is before the boss fight, maybe go ahead and put your personal, like if you're gonna be riding a Rhino or something like that, put it on ignore group whistling. That way you don't have whoever is whistling the filler dinos is what I'm gonna call them. That way he doesn't accidentally whistle your tame. Because what I like to do whenever I'm running to go pick up keys, I'll whistle my Rhino to follow me, and I'll run around, pick everything up, deposit it at the terminal, and by the time I've deposited everything, the Rhino's already caught up with me, so I can get back on my mount and get back into the game ASAP. Big flaw with Rhinos, you run into a teammate, you'll automatically lose your charge. So just make sure you're careful with that, because that can be a little annoying. I mean, if you have good Rhinos like we did, the charge wasn't necessary. We were kind of really doing a lot of damage without it, but I mean, Rhinos are tames that are meant to be charged up. So just make sure you're careful with your teammates. As far as that goes, I don't think anything really changes for stage 2. As far as the dinos throw at you, I think that's when the Rexes come out, unless they come out in the stage prior. I think stage 2 is just where the Rexes actually start to spawn, if I'm not mistaken. Stage 1, I believe, is just the Trikes. But yeah, that's it. Same deal as the first one, rinse and repeat, and then we go on to stage 3. Alrighty, so we are now at stage 3. You've hit Thanos, you've hit Optimus Prime, whatever you want to call him, Rockwell. Same deal, UD driver, pull everything, or sorry, whoever is whistling the filler dinos, have them pull everything up to the terminal. Another option is if you, whoever's whistling the dinos, if they're pretty, if they know how the whistling groups work, then you can do that as well. That way you don't have to worry about like changing things to ignore group whistles and all that stuff. Whistle groups definitely work. And as far as stage 3 goes, same thing, stage 1, stage 2. I think the only thing that can spawn are Gigas. We personally didn't see any unless we killed them before I personally saw one. I know when we did the Gamma boss fight, we had a couple Gigas that we would see on stage 3, but nothing really too crazy. Same deal though, kill the avatars, collect keys, bring them to the terminal, and your swag money from there. All right, the final phase, I guess, final stage, whichever. You still technically have a couple of at least 4 boss DPS phases. So you're not quite at the end yet. I would say this is probably about the halfway point, but you have about 15 minutes to kill the boss. So that's 15 minutes to deposit. I think it's 40 keys. So 44 times at the very least if you make the DPS all 4 times. So that's a lot of keys you have to deposit. And on top of that, the terminal does not stay as the same terminal every phase. I believe it moves counterclockwise. So the one that you bank your 40 at, next DPS phase will be counterclockwise from there. So make sure your team is on top of that, because when we did Gamma, you know, way back, we were really confused about where we need to deposit the keys. On top of that, the lasers that the boss shoots at you, they will dismount you off of your team and they will stun you. So you do have to be very careful for that. We had one guy die at the very end because he was dismounted, he was stuck, and he just got destroyed by all of the dinos. So one thing you can do is you can hide under those little metal bridges, and you should be good from there. As far as the lasers work, every time you pass a boss DPS stage, the lasers will track you differently. So I believe the first time they just kind of go around in a circle. The second time, I believe the lasers kind of trace the floor. The third time, I think he targets you, and like the fourth time, like he literally chases, like he targets players instead of just doing like a general sweep with the lasers. Actually, I think it's a mix of both. I think he sweeps the floor and he targets a specific person. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember off the top of my head, but just make sure you're kind of staying on top of your game. I think there was a couple of times where I was expecting to get lasered, so I just made it like my mission to kill everything around me, because the laser doesn't do too much damage from you. It just knocks you off your tame, which can mess you up if you have a lot of tames around you. So I killed everything around me, let him laser me, and I didn't have too much to worry about just because I was able to mount my tame again. On top of that, as soon as you make sure you're being very vocal with your team, who has what keys, how many you're depositing, so that way you know, say for example there's 2 keys deposited and someone calls out that they're fixing to deposit, you know, another 18, or someone has another 20 on top of that, then you know those 2 people are going to bank and it's time for DPS. That way you don't have everyone else on the ground scrambling for keys and you miss a DPS phase. I'm not too sure if I mentioned we had someone with a Therizino. That Therizino definitely does help for covering you while you're picking up keys, because you don't have to wait for a Therizino to charge up an attack. They can just run in, just stay on your tail, and just keep spamming that left click, and they do some pretty nice damage. Again, this is when the attack drones really start to come out and really start chasing players. So if you do start to get overwhelmed, they can hurt you while you are on your tame. It really isn't too bad, but if you have a lot, you might want to try to shoot them a little bit, be a little bit more tame as far as that goes. Depending on how strong your dinos are, you want to be really careful with things like Gigas, with the Reaper Kings, especially the Reaper King's sweep attack, because it will knock you back and it can really mess you up. Say if you're hiding under a bridge from all the lasers, you get knocked back with the Reaper, then you get knocked into the lasers, and it's not good all around. As far as whoever is whistling all of those Rexes, all of your filler dinos, you can pretty much forget about them for this last for the boss DPS phases. Just kind of let them do whatever, I guess, because it can be a real pain. I mean, if you have someone who's definitely on top of it and whistling attack my target, that can be very helpful. But at this point, everything starts to get really hectic, and I think what matters most is getting that damage resistance with the Rhino. Also, make sure you're keeping an eye on your Rhino's lesser antidote. Don't wait until you're about to fight a Giga to take it. Just keep your timer on it all the time, because that debuff really hurts. And I can't guarantee if it cures you. So say if you have the debuff already applied, I don't know if it'll cure you. So I mean, just best to be safe than sorry. Just constantly keep an eye on your timer in between lasers from the boss. Just make sure you're keeping that timer going. Other than that, I mean, I can explain it to you all day and night. Once you guys get the hang of it, it really isn't too bad. So just make sure you're staying on top of things. And one thing that, I mean, obviously messed us up on our 4th boss DPS, we should have killed the boss there, 100%. But I think there was like one guy who got dismounted, and I think our Therizino rider, if I'm not mistaken, was trying to protect the guy who got dismounted from the lasers. So we lost 2 of our 5 or 6. I don't know if there was 5 or 6 of us during the boss. I want to say there was maybe 5, because I think someone wasn't able to make it last second. So 2 of our 5 people weren't shooting the boss. So that was only 3 people out of the possible 6 shooting the boss. So that put another phase on us, which really had us scared, because by the time we were at our 4th damage phase, the boss should have been dead. But when we had another 40 keys that we needed to bank, things got really scary, because they don't give you a lot of time for the boss battle. Thankfully, we were able to do it with I don't remember how much, I'm gonna guess, I think it was like around 3 minutes to spare. But yeah, thankfully we were able to do it. So thank you all so much for watching. I really hope that I was in depth enough to explain everything for you guys, for it to make sense, while not, I guess, dragging it along at the same exact time. But if you enjoyed this little video, this little explanation, please let me know in the comments, because I genuinely like knowing these things. And hit that like button. It really is appreciated. I like seeing the number go up, and it it also helps the YouTube algorithm. Lets YouTube know that you like the video, and that it might show it to other people. That would be awesome. Thank you all so much for watching. That subscribe button helps me out so very much. So does a like. This is the Video Game Prodigy, and I'll see you guys next time.